Begin the current Daf Masech the Shabbos Daf Kuf Chaf Aleph. Begin a third line down at the top of the Amud. We're actually in the middle of the Gemara's discussion, finishing off the Gemara's discussion with the previous Daf, and then we're going to start the new sugya discussing the laws of Amir La'akim. Some of the things we're going to be discussing in today's Daf are regarding the implications of a non-Jew or a child who are coming to do a malacha for us, our level of responsibility to stop them. Additionally, the halacha of kaifin kli al gabe, we're going to be talking about putting a vessel, carrying a vessel over things like a candle or over other things. Additionally, that's going to get us into a discussion regarding killing dangerous creatures on Shabbos, which then that concludes by three different statements or Baba Bakanda, which are unrelated just because we brought him in that Gemara's discussion. So we're going to bring in three of his statements. So important terms and concepts we're going to talk about in today's daf are what's called shvisasei olav. Responsibility that others, such as our children and avodim, have, that we have with them, that they do not violate Shabbos. So when little kids come to do malacha, our responsibility to stop him from doing that malacha. In contrast, ain't shvisasei olav is when the non-Jews come to do malacha, we don't have to stop him. As long as we don't tell him to do what's called a mir la'akim, as long as he's coming to do it on himself, we don't have to stop him from doing that malacha. Which also that relates to kat noichel nevelis bezin mitzvah la'afrisha. There's a discussion regarding a child is doing something forbidden, like eating something non-kosher. The court, to other people, have to stop and say, no, you're not allowed to. That's forbidden to be done. You're going out of the area. You're doing some type of malacha. If you have to stop the child or not. Additionally, the concept of graf shalrei, which is the receptacle of the excrement, which is basically when there's something disgusting, although that thing would generally be muktzah, but you could get rid of it because it's disgusting, and that was a dispensation that you can move that thing. So we begin the current daf. We're starting a few lines before we start the next concept. It's just the end of the previous daf. It was too long to do it from the previous daf. The Gemara had a difficulty, had a contradiction. Regarding the halacha of our previous Mishnah, we had learned about the concept of what's called gram kibui, which is when there's a fire in the house, so you don't want it to go on further, so you're going to put a wall of vessels. So there was a machlekes regarding, could there be water in the vessel, so that when the heat gets it and it pops, and then now you're going to cause it to go out or not? So we had Rabbi Yisi who says that it's forbidden, we had the Chacham who said that it's permitted. So the Gemara had asked a contradiction, says, wait a second, Rabbi Yisi holds gram kibui is asr and the Chacham say it's mutter, but regarding the laws of mechikas Hashem, they're the opposite. Could you have Hashem's name and go into the mikveh? Well, if you go in, you're causing God's name to be erased. Rabbi Yisi is the one who's saying it's permitted, Chacham is saying it's forbidden. That's gram. So do you hold grama is permitted or forbidden? So the Gemara says, no. Everyone holds gram is permitted. It's not forbidden. By Shabbos, it's only rabbinically forbidden because of a person's going to be overcome. He's going to be mavuhal on his money. So he might come to do the malacha himself. So if we say it's forbidden. But regarding over here with God's name, it's not even about mechikas Hashem, because anyways it's going to happen. The gemi, even whoever holds you put on the reed, is only because you're not supposed to stand undressed in front of God's name. So everyone agrees, if you have a gemi, of course you have to put it on and cover God's name when you're going to the mikveh. If you don't, of course you're going to use your hand. The machlekes was regarding going after a gemi. What's the machlekes? Do you say tefillah b'zmana is mitzvah now? If you say tefillah b'zmana is a mitzvah, so then you say, okay, we're not going to make you go after a reed grass, because if you could do it, you might miss the mikveh time that you have today. You're going to go the next day. No, there's a mitzvah to go that day when you could go the first available opportunity. The ones who say that you have to go get a reed grass, okay, guy nishtat, guy morgan, whatever, but don't put yourself in a situation you might move away your hand and uncover God's name. That was the discussion. That's what the Gemara just concludes and says, wait a second. For Rabbi Yisi, is that really so that Rabbi Yisi holds tefillah b'zman a mitzvah? Because that's how he explained it. He holds going to the mikveh in its appropriate time. The first opportunity you have is a mitzvah to go, like the pasuk says. When it's time to go, when you can go then, you got to go then. And therefore, we're not going to make you go and try to find the reed grass. Okay, you'll cover with your hands. Hopefully, you won't go and cover it in front of God's name. And therefore, he holds that you're going to go without the reed grass. But Vatanya, we learned the Brisa, and this Brisa is said in regards to the laws of Yom Kippurim, in the Tosefta and Yuma, that says regarding Yom Kippurim, although a person's not supposed to, there's Chamisha Nun, there's 5 afflictions on Yom Kippurim. One of the things you're not supposed to go ahead and put your in the bath. You're not supposed to wash yourself with water. But Hazava, Hazava is the male version, Hazava is the female version. They have a discharge from the genital area. Or Mitzaras, also the male and female version of having a nega of tzaras. Or a bayil nida, if a man had relations with a menstrual woman, or with tamei mace, someone became tummy from coming in contact with a dead person. So tefillah by yom. Their tefillah is during the daytime, meaning only when the sun has arisen on the east, on the seventh day of the purification process is it that they go to the mikveh. And the reason is brought in the Gemara Megillah of Chaf. But then from the pasuk B'yem Shvi, which part of the seventh day is already from the counting. So what the Brisa is coming to tell us is that if the seventh day of their tefillah comes out on Yom Kippurim, they table the normal way on Yom Kippurim to eat truma that evening. Now that's those categories. They're supposed to actually table during the daytime. But Nida, a woman that's a menstruating woman after she had a purification process, but Yoledis, a woman who gave birth, they're actually tefillah is balayla. Their tefillah is supposed to be at nighttime. So what the Bryce is coming to say, these women, they table the normal way on the night of Yom Kippurim. So let's say the seventh day was on Erev Yom Kippurim, which they cannot table on the seventh day, because the pasuk says regarding them Tia Benidasa, they should be in their state of need, as the Gemara says for all 7 days. So they have to wait till the 7 days are over, and then at nighttime of the 8th days when they go on table. So that's what they say. Even if falls in Yom Kippurim, they're going to table. Now, the main reason why we're bringing this in is for the next category. So we spoke about the category that they table on Yom Kippurim during the day. You have those who table Yom Kippurim at nighttime. But Balkari is a man who has a seminal emission. So the halacha actually is rabbinically, he has to table himself in a mikvah to be able to learn the words of Torah. So nothing to do with Tyrus. Rabbinically, if you want to learn Torah and you had a seminal emission, you have to go to table in a mikvah. Says the Tanakama, so Teva v'hoylech kol yom kulei. So this person who had a seminal emission on Yom Kippurim, he could table the entire day. So although he had the seminal emission from the afternoon of Yom Kippurim after he already davened mincha, even though he could wait till nighttime and table from Ma'ariv at nighttime, even so he's allowed to table on Yom Kippurim, even though you're not allowed to just go ahead and jump into the pool on Yom Kippurim, because tabling in the time when you could, which for Balkari is at the first opportunity that he has, anytime he wants to learn Torah, he has to table, it's a mitzvah. So you're not doing it for rishus, you're doing it for a mitzvah. The mitzvah of Tefillah overrides, it's not a problem Yom Kippurim of 50 million, and therefore you could table yourself the whole Yom Kippurim, no matter what time it's going to happen, that the person has a tumah of carry. That's the Tanakam. Rabbi Yosef, he says, and this is where the question is coming from, because we're asking a contradiction on Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, no, it depends. If this man saw a seminal emission after he davened mincha Yom Kippurim, where he could wait until the evening time and then he could go into the mikvah and daven ma'ariv after Yom Kippurim, so then, and as Rashi points out, even Ne'ilah, this Tana, the way Rashi explains this, holds like Rav that you could daven Ne'ilah at nighttime. As Rav says in Yomid of Peizayin, Tfilas Ne'ilah actually exempts one from Ma'ariv because it could be said after it's dark. So when you really daven Mincha, Yom Kippurim, you don't have any more tefillas, prayers to say on Yom Kippurim. So in the Tzarech Litful, then you don't have to, there's different Yisosies, you don't have to, or you're not allowed to, you don't have to table anymore on Yom Kippurim because the time of when you could table, tevila with a vase, is not a mitzvah to table right now, the first opportunity you have. So if you don't have to table on Yom Kippurim, we're not going to let you table on Yom Kippurim. So you'll table Nuch Yom Kippurim, you go into the mikveh, and then you go and you daven Ma'ariv, and daven whichever, Ne'ilah, whatever you want to daven then. So what? Oh, because before Mincha, then, yeah, it sounds like for the tefillah, then yeah.
So it's not matter for learning, just for davening.
Right. It sounds like if you don't have you don't have for the Balkari Shabbai, that for the tefillah that we're going to let you go ahead and table. But if you don't have to daven because you already daven, so then for the learning, it's not pertinent that you have to do this right now. So then you could only do it on Matzah Yom Kippurim. But one thing is that the contradiction is you're telling me from the previous daf, from the top of the summit, the Rabbi Yitzi holds tefillah b'zman is a mitzvah. Because it's a mitzvah, therefore we don't make you go after the reed grass to cover God's name on your body, and you go into the mikvah because you might miss the time. You might have to go the next day. Now you want to go the first opportunity that you could, but here you're telling me on Yom Kippurim that no, if you don't have to, we'll push it off till Matzah Yom Kippurim because the table and going to the mikvah on Yom Kippurim, it's not something that we usually let. But you told me you hold tefillah b'zman the mitzvah. That's like what the Tanakama holds. That way they're going to let you go even if you daven mincha already because tefillah b'zman the mitzvah. Says the Gemara, you're right, Hahi, that Brisa is Rabbi Yissi Bar Yehudi. Although their first names are the same, it's a different Rabbi Yissi. It's Rabbi Yissi Bar Yehuda. Doma that he says, Daya Tvila Ba'achreina. It's sufficient tabling at the end. Now, what is this referring to that's enough to table at the end? It's referring to a Gemara Nida in Perikam Palace. It talks about if a woman left from this town when she was pregnant, she comes back what's called empty. Meaning she's not pregnant anymore. Now, she doesn't know when she gave birth, meaning she had a miscarriage. She doesn't know when she gave birth. The halacha requires 35 tevilos, 35 immersion of the mikveh for this woman. Because there's 4 different doubts of tevilah that pertain to her. One is regarding maybe she had a baby boy. because even if it's a miscarriage, if it's after 40 days, it's considered like a child in halacha. So that's the first week. Every single day she's gonna have to taivel. Maybe it's the 7th day of giving birth to a boy, or maybe she gave birth to a girl, and therefore the second week that she's here, she also has to go ahead and immerse every single day. And both of these are at nighttime, like we said before. Need to be led this tefillas and this balayla. So that's the first week she's back. When she comes back, we don't know. Maybe she just miscarried right before she came back. Maybe it was 7 days ago. We don't know. So the whole first week, every single night she has to table. And the second week too, if we don't know, it might be the end of her 2 weeks of having given birth to a girl. Or maybe she actually was Yeledes Zachar Bezoy. Maybe when she gave birth to the boy, she was actually a Zava. So then she has to also count, she has to table for the Zava on the 7th day of counting her clean days. So that's going to have to be also every single day of the second week. It's a little bit complicated. When we get to Masechet Nida, we'll go through it more of a cheshbon. Or maybe she actually gave birth to a girl in her state of Ziva, which is the 3rd week. Since we don't know when she gave birth and when's the time of her tefillah, every single night, every single day that we could be in doubt that maybe this is the time, including the 4th week, she has to go ahead and go to the mikvah. Now, Rabbi Yehuda, he disagrees and he says, no, it's sufficient that this is what the words are, shtei tefillah b'achreina, which is at the end of the counting of the days of giving birth to a girl, which is at the end of the 3 weeks, which if she gave birth to a girl in the state of Ziva, she's tamei 2 weeks for the Leda, and then she has another Shiva Nikiyim, 7 clean days because of the Ziva. Then at the end, when it's all over, then it's sufficient for her to go to the mikveh then, and that we don't say Tefillah B'zman Mitzvah. That's the Rabbi Yossi that says on Yom Kippurim that you won't go to the mikveh, you'll go afterwards. You'll go all the way at the end when you know that you could, but you don't have to go right now. That's who the Rabbi Yossi is. It's Rabbi Yossi Behuda, so it's not a contradiction. Rabbi Yossi from our previous daf holds Tefillah B'zman and Mitzvah, so we don't make you go up to the regress. But however, this Rabbi Yossi is Rabbi Yossi Behuda who holds no that it's not a mitzvah, and therefore you'll go after all those doubtful times, and Yom Kippur also go after Yom Kippur. That concludes the previous daf's discussion, which now we continue on a related discussion regarding a fire, but specifically about putting out a fire through someone else, which that opens us up to the halachic discussion of Amir La'akim and also regarding the laws of chinuch. The Mishnah begins. If a non-Jew comes to put out a fire, so says the Mishnah, you cannot tell him to put out the fire, which this is the halachic rabbinic injunction of Amir La'akam, Amir La'nachri. You cannot tell a non-Jew to do something which is forbidden, which is putting out a fire, because of a rabbinic prohibition. Now Taisa points out that this is even by Yisad Rabbanan. You cannot do Amir La'akam, you cannot tell a non-Jew to do a rabbinic prohibition, and therefore if there's a fire, you can't tell him put it out, because you're telling him to do an Isser. Now, but moreover, says the Mishnah also, the Al Techabe. We don't tell him to not put it out, meaning, as Rashi explained, you don't have to protest. You can let him go ahead and put out the fire. Why could you let him? And they she'en shvisase, because it's not on the Jew, the resting of the non-Jew, alehen, on the Jew, because the Jew's not prescribed to make sure the non-Jew does not do malacha. If it's not his slave, if it's not his homemaker, if he's not someone that's responsible to him, if a non-Jew is doing malacha, then that's okay. It's not his responsibility for him.
He's going to have a new.
So we'll see regarding the laws of Hana, right? And there is a discrepancy regarding what is considered Hana, what's not, what's a prohibited Hana, what's not a prohibited Hana. So that's a good point. We can discuss that later on this sugya. But for now, regarding the malacha shabai, regarding you didn't do an amira, so therefore you're not in charge of making the non-Jew not do malacha. Now that's regarding a non-Jew. Let's say a child says, Tati, the house is on fire, and the child's coming to put out the fire. Ain't shemela, you don't listen to him, you have to protest. You're not allowed to let the child do the malacha. A father is responsible for the malacha of his child, not allowed to let his child do malacha. You have to stop the child from doing the malacha. Now, relating to the halacha of the Mishnah, the Gemara brings the following teaching. Amr Bami says, "B'dleika by a fire, they permitted a person to say, in regards to the non-Jews, whoever puts out the fire, in a mafsad, he's not going to lose. So he's not doing a mir la'akim. You're not telling the non-Jew to do it. You're just making an announcement. Whoever puts out the fire will not lose, insinuating that the non-Jew is going to get some type of reward. So that's, and the Taisa says that actually is the halacha. Although the Gemara tries to prove it and doesn't end up proving it, Taisa says that's the halacha, and that is the halacha. That a person could say such a thing and says, it just makes that announcement. Since it's not telling a non-Jew directly, so that's going to be permitted. So the Gemara says, let's support this Amarok teaching from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, if a non-Jew is coming to put out the fire, you don't tell him kabe, you don't tell him put it out, not tell him a command, but also ba'al tachabe, you don't have to tell him not to put it out. Why? Because it's not your responsibility to stop a non-Jew from doing malacha. But says the Gemara, one thing we see from the Mishnah is that, you're not allowed to put it out, where you directly are making him your agent to do malacha. But if you just make an announcement, whoever puts it out doesn't lose. Really, that you could tell him, because you're not telling him what to do. The non-Jew doing it is on his own volition, on his own choice. So maybe that's going to be permitted. Says the Gemara, no, Ema Seifa. Look at the second half of the statement. You also don't have to tell him, it says, we don't tell him, don't put it out. I mean, you don't have to protest when he's coming to put it out. But one thing is that if you would make an announcement that you're revealing that he's not going to lose, that also sounds like that's not permitted, because if revealing your intentions are permitted, even though you're not telling him directly, why does the Seif have to say you're not allowed to? You don't have to protest when you don't have to protest. You're allowed to do even more than just not protesting. You're actually allowed to make an announcement and say, well, whoever does it doesn't lose. Obviously, as the Gemara says, but to say whoever puts it out doesn't lose, that we don't tell him, because if you're allowed to make the announcement, of course you don't have to protest. You're allowed to do even more. You're allowed to make an announcement. Obviously, you don't have to protest. Says the Gemara, rather from here, we obviously cannot be the right, because obviously our Mishnah, all of the words were not so precise. One of them, whether the ratio of the Sefer was the precise one, and we brought the other half just because we were contrasting with the other one, but we don't know which one's precise to learn out from it. Kabeh and Al Techabe, each one is giving an opposite inference. By saying you can't say Kabeh, that sounds like, but you could make an announcement of just being Megali Yadas. By saying, but you don't say Al Techabe, that sounds like, well, okay, you don't have to protest, but you're not going to go and make an announcement. One of them is not the precise one, and therefore you cannot prove the halacha from our Mishnah. Now, regarding this halacha that we just mentioned, the Gemara says, Tarma Lina Braisa. Ma'isa, there was a story, Benafla Deleka, there was a fire that was B'chatzer Shal Yosef ben Simoy B'Shichin. In the courtyard of Yosef ben Simoy in Shichin, there was a fire. Uvo Anche Gistra, and the men of the government, meaning the firemen, Shal Tzipari, they came, L'chabes, to put out the fire. And why they come especially for this Yosef ben Simoy? And they shot Petropis because he was the treasurer, he was in charge of the money. Shal Melechaya was very close to the king because he was his treasurer, and therefore the men of the government came to try to save his property. He did not let them put out the fire. And they covered a Shabbos because of the dignity of Shabbos. Here they're going to do malacha of putting out the fire. He didn't let them. But Aslei Nes, a miracle happened for him. And it rained and they put out the fire. Says the Gemara, La'erev, in the evening, after Shabbos was over, every fireman he went and he sent 2 salam, 2 coins. And the officer in charge, he sent him 50 coins. Now, because Shoshamu Chacham Badab, the sages heard what happened. Amru, they said, he didn't have to do this to stop them from putting out the fire. Because we learned, if a non-Jew is coming to put out a fire, you're not telling him to put it out. But you also don't have to tell him not to put it out. The non-Jew is coming to put out the fire, you're allowed to let him put out the fire. It's not your responsibility. And therefore, although it was a beautiful story, that was not he didn't have to do that to stop them from putting out the fire. Now then the Mishnah continued, after Amir La'akim, it said, okay, that's regarding a non-Jew. If a minor, a little child's coming to do malacha, he's coming to put out the fire, in Shemila, you don't listen to him, because it's your responsibility for the child's keeping of Shabbos, and therefore, when he's coming to put out, you have to stop him from doing the malacha. Now, the Gemara makes a very important halachic inference from this teaching. Shamit Minah, what you hear from this is, if a child is doing something prohibited, he's eating, it just picks the classic example. It's not specifically regarding the velas, although there is some relevance to the case, but the child who eats a non-kosher thing, a nevela, a dead animal that wasn't properly slaughtered, you could infer from the halach of the Mishnah that Bezdin mitzubin olav lafrishe, that the court, meaning other people, are responsible to stop him from what he's doing. Now, Taisus actually tells us a very important qualification. He says, we're talking about a child that's not even the age of chinuch. He's not even the age that you have to go ahead and train him in mitzvahs, because if he's already a gila chinuch, then you have to be mechanech him. Of course you have to stop him from doing the isser. What would be the chiddush? You have to train him in the mitzvahs. We're talking about actually a child that's not even chinuch age. He's a younger child, and still he's coming to do the malacha. You have to stop him from doing this isser. Now, the point of this inference is, as Rashi explains, it's a difficulty on Rabbi Yochanan, which he says in Masechet Yevamos Daf Kufdalim and Alf, when there was a story over there, someone lost their keys, and they says, oh, you lost your keys in the street, what are you going to do? No problem. Bring some children to play over there. They're going to find the keys, and then they're going to bring it to you. Which obviously from that is saying that you don't have to stop children that are doing a malacha. So that he's contradicted from here from the halacha of the Mishnah, which says, no, you see a child doing something wrong, you have to stop him. You're not going to do the malacha. So isn't that contradictory from the halacha of our Mishnah? You see, you have to stop even a little child from doing no mukt. Oh, Shabbos. No, you have to stop the child. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a raya. Amar B'yichin, he would tell you, but no isla das aviv. Here we're talking about a child who's doing it with the intention of the benefit of his father, meaning he knows how to differentiate that his father really wants this to be extinguished. So he's doing it for him. When he's doing it for the father, that's different. That's forbidden to be done. And this is actually part of the halacha of the laws of chinuch. You have to stop. But even a small little child, if they're doing a malacha for you, then you have to stop the child. The only time that possibly you don't have to stop the child is when the child's doing it for himself. But if he's doing it for the father, then you would have to stop. And that's what the halacha of the Mishnah is saying. It's not necessarily a contradiction under Rabbi Yechon. It could be if a child's doing something forbidden, you wouldn't have to stop him if he's a small minor which is younger than the age of chinuch. But here you have to stop because he's doing it for tati. If he's doing it for tati, that's shvisas elaine, that you have to stop.
Isn't the virus different?
What?
The virus is it different than Shabbos?
Which one?
The virus.
The veilus. Why would it be different?
So
Chassidim are more makbid about Timtum Alev than Litva. We have like medicine, all those different things about Timtum Alev. Yeah, I'm saying there is this idea about that we have the regarding also nursing about Timtum Alev that you have to, that the Ramah brings it down. However, according to the basic halacha, it's the same as regarding Ol Yisurim. For whatever we call that, you don't necessarily have to stop the child. I mean, that depends on what halacha. But in regards to the iser, that's the classic example of katan the veilus is used as an example of doing something wrong. So that you wouldn't have to stop him because it's not an iser. There's no timtum alev. There's no iser. That is the discussion. We prefer to stop him. We do stop him in practice. Well, right, exactly. Right, so we actually, many I think that we do, but in practical halacha, it would be basically the same, that you wouldn't have to stop the child. But people are makbid with timtum alev. They stop and they don't give the child those types of medicine. But that goes into halacha discussions that the child's different, that you wouldn't have to stop the child from eating something forbidden. Depends if it's not really forbidden, if there's a time of forbidden, then we do let. This sugi is a huge sugi, that of chinuch. But be that as it may, we're saying that it's not a contradiction in Rabbi Yechon. It could be you don't have to stop him, but here you have to stop because he's doing it for the father. But then the Gemara has asked, wait a second, there were two cases in our Mishnah. We spoke about a non-Jew, and we spoke about a child. If you're telling me that here it's talking about with a child, you have to stop him because he's doing it for the Yid, he's doing it for the father, he's doing it for the Jew, so then the Kavasar Gabenachri, then wait, go back to the case of the non-Jew. Then you're telling me the Ka'avin L'daita the Yisrael, the non-Jew is doing it for the Jew, me showing that it isn't permitted. We're going to see in the next Mishnah that when a non-Jew is doing the malacha for the Jew, then that is forbidden. You're not allowed to let that being done. So how could you let the non-Jew do it for the Jew if he's doing it for the Jew? Because you tell me that's the case of the cotton, then that's the parallel case of the nachri. So you want to know, nachri, a non-Jew, l'daita the nafshi of it. He does it for himself. Meaning, even though he knows that it's pleasing to the Jew, his intention is for his own selfish benefit, where he knows that he's not going to lose. If he's doing something, he's going to get some type of remuneration or compensation. And therefore, even though he's doing it for the Jew, he's really doing it for himself. So that's the difference. The cotton you have to stop because he's doing it for the father. And that he really has that altruistic intention to help the father. And therefore you have to stop him, even if you don't have to stop a child using something forbidden. Here you have to, because shvisas elaine. But for the non-Jew, even though, yes, we'll see in the next Mishnah, on the next Daf, we'll see that you have to stop the non-Jew and he's doing it for the Jew. He's not really doing it for the Jew. He's really doing it for himself, and therefore it's a different category, and it would be permitted to have the non-Jew put out the fire for the Jew. Here in the next Mishnah, which continues on a related discussion, one of them relating to a fire, which then gets us into a discussion of similar case descriptions of taking a bowl to cover something, which then is used to protect from some type of a harm. Says the Mishnah, talk about three different things that you could cover with a pottery bowl. Kaif ka'ara, you could cover with a bowl of earthenware, which doesn't get burnt. You could use it to cover al gabe haner, on top of a candle. If you don't want the candle to grab a hold of the beam so that it shouldn't catch on fire, as long as when you're covering with the bowl you don't extinguish the fire, then you could cover it with the bowl. Now, although generally, according to one opinion, you're not allowed to use a vessel to cover something that it itself cannot be moved on Shabbos. So the Gemara actually asks this question on Daf Mem Gimel on Rabbi Yitzchak that says, a kli cannot be nita only l'davar nita. And the Gemara says, you're right, it's talking about where you need it to move the bowl anyway, l'tzarech mekayme, but you're allowed to move the bowl. Once you're moving it and you have it in your hand, which actually is the halacha with muktzah to some extent, once someone's already holding muktzah, you're allowed to put it down wherever you want to put it down. So then you're allowed to put it down to cover the candle so that it doesn't catch a hold on the beam and that there shouldn't be a fire. That's one thing that you could do it with. And also regarding the feces of a little child, which is, let's say a child made dirty on the floor and you don't want it to just be there, you could go ahead and we'll actually see in the Gemara what the actual case is. It's not really the feces of a child, but you could use to cover the excrement with a bowl. And also the third case is about Akav Shlei Tishach. If there's a scorpion, you don't want it to bite, you're allowed to take a bowl and cover it over the scorpion that it shouldn't bite. Now, actually, regarding the last case, Amr Yehudi says, Maisabah. There actually was a story where someone had covered a bowl over a scorpion. And that story came from Rabbi Yochanan Bezakai, which was Ba'arav, in this place Ba'arav. Rabbi Yochanan says, he says, I'm concerned that maybe this person is chayav akar b'chatzis, because since the scorpion was not running after the person, so he says, I don't know if you're going to be chayav for tzeidah for trapping the snake or not, the scorpion. I'm concerned that it's going to be chiv chatzis, like Mefarshim explained that if he held like a bihuda, that even though it's a melacha shein tzurich l'gufi, you don't really need the trapping of the snake. You only don't want it to bite. So say that the malach is only when you want to trap it. You don't want to trap it. You'd rather it wasn't here in the first place. You just don't want it to bite. But still, according to Yehuda, it's a malach shein tzurich l'gufi. You're going to be chayav. Says, I'm concerned for that opinion. Rabbi Yehuda, that maybe it's chayav achatas for putting the bowl over the snake. Now, we continue with the Gemara now discusses, it's going to say a story that's going to discuss one of the halachas of our Mishnah. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yimri bar Abba, Rabbi Chana bar Rabba, these three Amiram, Iklu lebei Oven demin Nishikaya. They came to the house of Oven from Nishikaya. Now, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yimri bar Abba, for two of these Amiram, as you continue them in days, Aishalahu per Yasam. So they brought them beds, which in Talmudic times they used to recline on beds. Basically, they had chairs to sit on. Now, Rav Chanan bar Rava, Lo Yaisalei, they didn't bring him anything to sit on. They had to sit on the floor. Now, Ashkechei, so this Rav Chanan bar Rava, who was not given a chair to sit on, he encountered the Balabayis, Rav Oven, who was Master Lebrei. He was teaching his son the halacha of our Mishnah. He told him that you're allowed to take a bowl to put it over about Tzayishal cotton. He's learning with Avos Avanim, with his son, and they're sitting there and they're learning, and he tells his son, okay, Yankala, let me teach you halacha. You're allowed to take a bowl of earthenware to use it to cover the Tzayishal cotton. When a child makes on the ground this excrement, you're allowed to take a bowl and cover it. Then they cotton because of a child, meaning you don't want the children to get dirty and be touching the dirty, and have the dirty diaper within, the child's going to be playing with it, which most people know you're trying to change a diaper, you got to move it away very quickly before they go ahead and touch it. So to avoid that, you're allowed to take a bowl and cover it. So Amalei Rav Chan, who was angry, he was upset. He wanted to provoke Rav Oven because he was the one that didn't get a chair. He was sitting on the floor. So he said to him, Oven Shatya, Oven the fool, Masni Shatus Levne, he's teaching foolish things to his son. Says V'halahi Atzma, but the excrement of a child, it itself is Mochanis L'Klavim, is prepared for the dogs, meaning dogs will eat the excrement of a child. Why do you have to go ahead and take a vessel? I mean, you don't want that excrement to be there. So you're teaching your son that you could take the bowl and cover over the excrement, the waste matter. Why do you have to cover with a vessel? You could move it. It's not muktzah. It's fit to be moved because it has a Shabbos utility where it could be eaten by the dogs. So that's what the Gemara is going to say right now. Fachitim, if you're going to say, oh, what do you mean? Okay, it's fit to be used, but the lechazil etmol wasn't fit from yesterday because today it was what's called noilid. It only came today. It only came out of the child's body on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, no. But we learned the brisa that says now haris hamoshchin, the running rivers, or mayanis hanoivim, the flowing springs, harein karagli kaladim. It's like the legs of every single person, meaning regarding to the laws of tchumen, that is, because something that flows, it doesn't require shlisa. Shlisa is generally the concept is that where something is, by ben hashmashas, that's where it acquires its halachic area for Shabbos, and then with the 2,000 amat tchum. So the chiddush of this halacha is, even though these rivers are coming from out of the tchum, but any person on Shabbos that takes the water from this river, it's going to be in the area that he's allowed to go to on Shabbos. So one thing we learn from this halacha is that you're allowed to move these waters on Shabbos, even though yesterday wasn't even here. Over for the whole Friday night and Shabbos day, wherever it was, Erev Shabbos, when Shabbos started, who knows how many miles away. It doesn't make them on Shabbos you're allowed to go to the river and take that water. Why are you allowed to do that? It came from court out of the tchum. Why does it have the person's tchum? So as Rashi explains, because since that's normal to be like that, so your intention is that on Shabbos, that you know it's going to be here. So even though it's not here right now, you know it's going to be here because that's the nature of the world, that the river that's a few miles away on Shabbos is going to be here. So that becomes part of your intentionality of your life, that it's considered that that's part of what is yours. So here too, since it's normal for a child to go to the bathroom on Shabbos, so the father knows the child's going to go to the bathroom, so that when it's going to come, it's going to feed it to the dogs. So therefore, it's this concept of that urche b'hachi, and since it's normal, it's daiti alave. His attention is on that, and therefore, what are you telling me? The child's excrement you cover with a bowl, you let him move it. It's not muktzah. It doesn't have the element of noilid because since you know about it, that's going to be, and your thought is on it. Therefore, it's like considered prepared, and you could give it to the dogs. So then Sir Bavin said to him, okay, so how should I teach this teaching of which is the halacha of our Mishnah? So he says, Amos say, you're allowed to cover the vessel al tzayir shatana goyim, on the excrement of the chickens, which dogs don't eat that. So although the Mishnah tells us al tzayir shel cotton, when the Mishnah was saying that, it wasn't saying it was the excrement of a child. It's the excrement, comma, shel cotton, regarding the child playing with it. And it means to say mimnei cotton, because of the child. Because of a child playing with the excrement of the chickens, that's why you're going to cover it. But really, again, it's the excrement of chickens that is muktzah, because the dogs don't eat that, and therefore you're not intending for anyone to eat that, and therefore that's muktzah. That we're saying you cover with a bowl so the children don't get dirty playing with the dung of the chickens. Says the Gemara, wait a second. What do you mean? So it should be sufficient. This is considered a bowl of excrement, which whenever you have something disgusting, you're allowed to clear it away. As the Gemara says, a beya, a graf shalrei, you're allowed to take it out to the garbage. As many people do this on Shabbos. They take out disgusting things, they take it out of the house. How are you allowed to do these things? Are muktzah, they have no Shabbos utility. Oh, that's considered a graf shalrei, it's considered something disgusting. So that itself should be able to move. Why do you have to cover it with a vessel? And v'chitim, if you're going to say graf shalrei, what the words are, a bowl of excrement, maybe this that we're allowed to take it out is because it's in a bowl. That's what the graf is. The graf is an earthenware vessel that's designated to have excrement in it. Maybe agav mana'im. Maybe only when you have a vessel, then yes, you're allowed to move it. But iu gufim, when it's by itself, then you would maybe say, lo, you're not allowed to in here. It's without a bowl. It's just some excrement on the floor, and maybe that's why you're not allowed to move it. It says no, because there was a certain mouse. The shtakech besparmaki, the Ravashi, that was found in the spices of Ravashi. Who he said to his family members, nukutu b'tzitzise, grab a hold of it by its tail, vabkua, and take it out. Obviously, it wasn't leaving the house. Right? But obviously we see that even without a vessel, you're also allowed to go ahead and move it. So we're back to the question. Why are you saying that by the excrement of the chickens, that you're allowed to cover with a bowl because that children should have played with it? Why can't you get rid of it? It's a graf sharei, and graf sharei doesn't even require a graf. It could just be excrement. Says the Gemara, we're talking about ba'ashba. It's in the garbage dump. It's not in front of a person's house. So you don't have the dispensation of graf sharei. It's here in the garbage. So you're not allowed to move it. So therefore, that's why you have to leave it. So the Gemara says, wait a second. If it's in the garbage dump, what is the child doing in the garbage dump? Generally, their garbage dumps were in Rishus Harabim, in the streets. So what's the child doing over there that you're saying you're allowed to cover with an earthenware bowl? Because the child that he shouldn't get all schmitzig, playing in the dirt over there with the excrement, but you're telling me he's already in the garbage dump. What's the child doing over there? So the Gemara, it's b'chatzar, it's in the courtyard, where a child plays in the courtyard. So again, the Gemara is assuming that, wait a second, in the courtyard, that's not where the garbage dump is. So the Gemara goes back to the question. So if that's the case, then chatzanami graf shalrei, in the courtyard, that is a dispensation of you don't want garbage over there. So then you should be allowed to move it. So why do you have to cover it with the bowl? So the Gemara concludes, we're talking about ba'ashba shebachatzar. We're talking about that it's a garbage dump in the courtyard. I mean, like we have garbages not only in Staten Island, not only in Tom's, wherever it is that there's certain places that there's a garbage dump. People have small garbage dumps. They have garbage bags at certain places. So you could be in the chutzah where a child will play. And that's the ashba, that's still where the garbage is. So you don't have the dispensation of graf sharei because that's where everyone puts their garbage. At the same time, a child's going to play over there. So you want to cover it, and therefore that's what we're saying, that you're allowed to cover the excrement of a chicken so the children don't get dirty, but you're not allowed to move it because they don't have the excuse of graf sharei. That's only if it would be, let's say, in your living room. Then you could say graf sharei, but in the garbage dump there is no dispensation of graf sharei. Now, one of the next things we spoke about was that you could take a bowl to cover is val akarvan, a scorpion shlei tishach, if you don't want it to bite. Now, related to that, we have the following halachic discussion. Amir b'shuma levi says, kol hamazikin, all harmful creatures that kill, neragin b'Shabbos could be killed on Shabbos. Now, the assumption of the Gemara right now is, even if it's not chasing the person, and it's because he holds like Reb Shimon, that holds what's called malacha she'en tzurich legufa, if you're doing a malacha of Shabbos that you don't need for it itself, It's only a secondary reason why you're doing it. Like here, you don't want to kill the animal to get the animal. You just want to kill it that it doesn't harm. So that's only going to be rabbinically forbidden. And here, when it's a harmful creature, we don't make that gezer d'rabbanan of the malacha shein tzricha legufa, and it's allowed. The animal is allowed to be killed. However, Moshe Rabbi Yisrael asks for the following brisa. The brisa says chamish nerokim b'Shabbos. There's only 5 creatures that are killed on Shabbos, because he holds that generally these creatures they kill. So because they kill their predators, so you're allowed to kill them on Shabbos. And they are zvuv sheberetz Mitzrayim. There's a certain fly that's very dangerous that in Egypt. B'tzir shebeninveh, you have the wasp in Ninveh. The Akrav shebechadyev, you have the scorpion in Chadyev. The Nachash sheberetzol, the snake in Eretz Yisrael. And you have a kelev sheid b'chol makom, or deranged dog, wherever it is. All these are very harmful creatures. Those are 5 creatures you're allowed to kill on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, who is the Tana of this price? Elam Rabbi Yehuda, if you think it's like Rabbi Yehuda, Ha'amar, he says, malacha shein tzich legufa, if you're doing a malacha that you don't need for it itself, chayv aleh, you're going to be liable for it. So how could you let a bona fide malacha, which is killing an animal, by these 5 animals, if it's not chasing after the person, if there's no actual bekuach nefesh, danger to a person's life, how could you even kill these 5? Even if they're dangerous, you're still doing a malacha d'oraisa, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you chayv malacha shein tzich legufa. Why would you permit you to kill these 5 animals? They're not actually chasing you. So although they're harmful creatures, fine. But until there's a danger to life, he wouldn't let you kill even these 5 animals. And Allah rather says the Gemara, obviously Reb Shimon, the Tana is Reb Shimon. And Bahani would destroy. Only these 5 animals he permits to override the rabbinic isra of Amlacha Shem Tzich Legufa. B'achrini Lai, other harmful creatures which are not as dangerous as these would not be permitted. So you see, not like Reb Shimon Levi, because we're presuming Reb Shimon Levi is coming from the halachic opinion of Reb Shimon. And you see, Reb Shimon doesn't let every Malacha Shem Tzich Legufa for any harmful creature. These 5 are very dangerous. In the top 5, those you're allowed to kill. So that contradicts Reb Shimon Levi. So then Rabbi Yomi says, wait a second. Who's going to tell us that this brisa is even the correct brisa? Maybe this brisa is an error, because as the Gemara is going to shortly explain, Rabbi Yisrael is the one who taught this brisa, and it's not from the yeshivas of Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Oishia. Any brisa was not taught in Toseftas Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Oishia, we could be in doubt. Maybe it's mistaken, or you cannot ask a question because it's a brisa. It's not an authoritarian brisa to ask from it. To which Rabbi Yisrael says, "Anomas." What he says, I taught this brisa. It's from my collection of brises. And I'm going to ask the question. It's a good question. But he says, but I'm going to give the answer also. Why it's not difficult? And this is how Rashi explains the Gemara. When Yeshua Levi said that all harmful creatures you're allowed to kill on Shabbos is berotzu acharav. Yeah, it's talking about where they're running after the person, where it's pekuach nefesh. And therefore, actually, b'divrei kol. Actually, his teaching is going not only according to Reb Shimon, it's going even according to Yehuda. Because pekuach nefesh, of course, you could kill an animal. This is the brisa that says you could only kill 5 animals. That's when they're not running after the person, and that's going like Reb Shimon. And therefore, it's not difficult on that teaching, because again, Rabbi Shimon Levi is talking about when they're actively chasing somebody. So then everyone would agree you could kill the harmful, the dangerous creature. The brisa says only those 5 is talking about the harmful creature, which is like Rabbi Shimon, that malacha shem tzich legufi pater. So therefore, when it's a very dangerous animal, that's when they said, okay, it's only rabbinic, so we're going to let you kill that animal.
Even if it's going to chase someone an hour later,
that's the Gemara saying, but that's not pekuach nefesh right now. We don't know. You can't go into the Congo and say, okay, this animal might kill someone one day.
Going to search, but if I encounter.
Right, but again, it's not chasing someone right now. So therefore, then it wouldn't be under the rubric of pekuach nefesh to go ahead and kill the animal, and therefore that's what the Gemara is saying that would be forbidden. Now, related discussion to this, Tani Tana Kamei de Rava or de Rabba Bar Rav Huna. He was a teacher of Bryce, so taught the following Bryce in front of Rabbi Bar Avuna. If someone kills a snake and a scorpion on Shabbos, the spirit of the pious ones are not pleased with this person, meaning they're not joined with this person, because it's not appropriate in their eyes what this person is doing, that he's killing the snake and the scorpion on Shabbos. To which Amalei, so Rabbi told that one who taught the Bryce, he says, and those pious people who they hate the person who's killing the snake and scorpion on Shabbos, the spirit of the sages are not pleased and settled with that person, with what that these Hasidim are seeing. Because obviously Rav is saying that the Chachamim hold that no, it is appropriate, because like we just heard a comment just before, if this creature is not going to harm right now, when it's going to get angry, it ultimately will harm. So therefore, it actually is an appropriate thing. So this that the Hasidim are not pleased, the Chachamim are not pleased with those Hasidim, because no, what I mean, you don't want a harmful creature just walking around. It is ultimately going to harm someone else. Which what Rav said is a pliga de Rav Huna. Rav Huna disagrees with what Rava said. Rava said that the Chacham wouldn't be pleased. Chacham would hold that it is appropriate to kill the animals on Shabbos. Rav Huna disagrees. He says no, the Chacham would agree to the Chasidim. Rav Huna chazi lahu gava, because Rav Huna saw a certain person took a couple zibur, killing a bee. Says the bee is dangerous, it might harm someone, so the guy was killing the bee. So Amalei, Rav Huna said that Shlamtinu Lakulu, did you finish them all off? Did you kill every bee in the world? No, what did you gain? There's still so many more. Obviously, it's not appropriate to do that. So Rava is disagreeing with his father, Rav Huna, where Rava held that the Chacham would hold that it is appropriate because it's a harmful creature, it might harm someone. So yeah, go ahead and kill it on Shabbos. Whereas Rav Huna said, no, what's the point? You're going to get every harmful creature in the world? There's no point in that, and therefore you're not allowed to just go ahead, unless it's Pekuach Nefashos, you're not go ahead and just kill creatures on Shabbos. Now, parenthetically, the Gemara brings a more of a hashkafic type of a teaching. Turn a bun. On the Brisa, when people have what's called hashkacha pratis. So, nizdamnu lo nechashim akravim. If let's say it encounters a person, snakes and scorpions. So, it depends what happens, what is the heavenly teaching for that person. Hargun, if he kills the snake and the scorpion, be a doer, so it's known as damnu lo lahargun. The reason why God made it, that it came to that person, was so that he should kill them. That's why Hashem brought the snake and the scorpion to the person, because ultimately this animal is going to harm someone. And what's called magalgun schusa de zakai. God wanted that a meritorious act should be done through a meritorious person. So Hashem made the snake come to you that you should kill the snake. So Hashem, that was like a good sign. Now, but let's say loyhargan, let's say he doesn't kill the snake. So the sign is that it came to the person to kill him, and that a miracle happened from heaven, and Hashem is showing that the person sinned. It's just a miracle was done for him, and therefore that the person should repent and understand it was really meant to kill him. So these things are a sign. Depending what happens, it depends what the sign was to the person, what the lesson he's supposed to take out of it. Now the Gemara goes back to what we said before. He says, I just finished up the teaching. It's talking meaning it's only if the snake is hissing. Then you know that it was coming to kill the person, because that's what a snake generally does. Where it hisses, if it sees a person and it hates it, it's getting angry, like the bison who gored that woman in Yellowstone Park a few days ago, where it's like animals send signs that they're upset. Get the message. Don't try to take your selfie with the bison right there in front of the person. So if it's hissing, that's where it's teaching you a lesson that's it's angry at the person. Then if it doesn't kill the person, that's a sign that it was saved from heaven. Now the Gemara brings a story related to these halachas. Amar Baba Bar Khan says, Pamachas, one time, Nofel echad bebeis hamedrash. A snake fell in the beis hamedrash on Shabbos. Va'aman navisi echad, and a person from his place called Navisi, and he was a Jew, came along v'hargan, and he killed the snake. So Amar Rebbe said the following words. He said, Paga b'keitzabay, the snake encountered someone similar to himself. Now, Ibaylu did the following question. Paga b'keitzabay, when Rebbe said that he encountered someone that's similar to him, does that mean the shopper of it? That he did appropriately? Meaning when he was saying kayetzabay, it was not disgracing the person. It was saying the snake was a roid that was chasing after people, and now he got what was coming to him, which was that the person was good that he killed the snake. Or maybe not. When he says kayetzabay, he's saying just like the snake is a bad creature in that way, so too is this person. So is he praising the person or degrading him? So Zimar Tashma Latzmingaraya, because the Rabbi Beredi Rabbi Barab of Rabbi Seira have a yashla killed the Rabbi Yanai. These Amarom is sitting by the porch of Rabbi Yanai, of his house. And Nafik Milsa B'Menayu, it came out from them the following question. They asked Rabbi Yanai, what's halacha? Can you kill snakes and scorpions on Shabbos? So he responded to them and he says, well, I'll tell you. Tzira Nihayri, he says, I go ahead and I kill even a wasp on Shabbos to get rid of all the harmful creatures, even though it's not even, so to speak, having this intention to go ahead and harm people. So Nachash of Akrab like Kolshkin, so isn't a Kolshkin regarding snakes and scorpions? Obviously, he's saying that you could do this, and therefore it is appropriate that the Rebbe was praising this person. It was complimenting him that it was permitted to go ahead and kill the snakes and scorpions. So the Gemara rejects the raya and says no. Dilma maybe lafi tumoy. This that he said that he kills a wasp on Shabbos and the Kolshkin to killing the snakes and scorpions is not that a person should deliberately go ahead and step on the snake and kill it. Rather, it just means if a person's walking and there's a snake and a scorpion in front of him, he doesn't have to go ahead and move out of the way. He could keep on walking, and then if it dies when he steps in, so it dies. Because since it's davish eina miskaven, he's not intending to do that. And this actually, we have this heter many times, like by walking on snow, which is you're not supposed to step on it, intentional. There's a lot of things, as the Gemara is going to say now, also you're not supposed to. But if you're walking, it happens to happen. It's davish eina miskaven. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's only rabbinic. And regarding harmful creatures, we don't make a gzeira. And maybe that's why you're allowed to, because the Amar Rabbi Hudi says, right, when there's spit on the floor, you could step on it innocently, where you're not intending to do smoothing it out and smooth out the ground, where although by default it's going to be smoothing it out, but since you're not intending to, so if it's going to be permitted, there is no raya. Maybe not to deliberately go ahead and kill the snakes and scorpions. But if you happen to be walking and you happen to step on the wasp or on the snake, that's permitted, like on the spit. As the Gemara brings V'amar Rav Sheish, she says, Nachash, a snake, Dar Shlefi Tuma, you're allowed to step on it just in your innocence. And V'amar Rav Ketin, he says, also Akriv, this scorpion, this is Dar Shlefi Tuma, you could step on it according to your innocence, and again, there's no raya that you're allowed to go ahead and actively go ahead, deliberately go ahead and kill it. Now, once we say this, the Gemara brings actual story related to this halacha. Abba Bar Marta, who Abba Bar Menyumi, he had two names. He was Abba Bar Menyumi. Have a maskebe the Rish Galusa Zuzi, the house of the Rish Galusa, that was the Jews that were in charge in the Gullus. He owed them money. So Isua, they brought him, and Kumatzarli, they were painting him. It says, "Nu pay up, you guys, you owe us already money." Now Havashadi Ruka, when they were painting him, there happened to have been spit over there in front of them, and there was Shabbos. So Amal the Rish Galusa said to his servants that were painting this Abba Bar Marta, said, "Aisumana, bring a vessel and sechifa lava and cover over the spit because we don't want to step on it because that might smooth out the ground." So Amalui said to them, so this Abba Bar Marta said to them, he says, "You don't have to cover it." This is what Rabbi Yehuda says, what we just said before. Right, when the spit, even if you happen to step in it, it's a davashin miskaven, and therefore, since you're doing innocently, that's not going to be forbidden. So Amalahu, he said to them, Tzavim Rabbonu, this guy is a Talmudic scholar, Shavku, leave him alone. Again, that's why the Gemara just brought in, because it was related to that halacha. Now, once we said, quoting Rabbi Bar Kahana, previously, so the Gemara now brings in three different teachings from Rabbi Bar Kahana, which are unrelated to our sugi, but it's because we mentioned it before. So Rabbi Bar Kahana, he says, Amar B'chanina, he says, Tamaita shel beis Rebbe, the lamps of the household of Rebbe, which were not made out of different parts, mutal l'talma m'Shabbos, you're allowed to move it on Shabbos. So Shomlei Zera asked, okay, but the Talmud Yodi Achas, are we talking about a small lamp that can be moved with one hand, or that it's a large one that can be moved with two hands? So Amalei, as we continue to have Beis he said to him, Ka'isn shel beis Avicha, like those are in your father's household. Which actually is Machlekes Rashi and Taisus. Rashi says it means that they're small. Because actually if they're big, then the person keeps it generally in one place. Things that generally don't move are muksa and you're not allowed to move it. So it's somewhat the small ones. A second teaching, he tells them, Amar Baba Barkan, Amar Chanina, where Korein Yishal Beis Rebbe, the wagons of the household of Rebbe, which were made for people, those wagons, Mutal Talmud Shabbos, you're allowed to move them on Shabbos. So here also, Amar B'zeri asked him, are the wagons moved by one person? Or you need two people to move it. Somebody said to them, like those are your father's household, which are small ones. A third teaching, he says, Chanina permitted the household of Rebbe, to drink the wine, they came on a wagon of a non-Jew, even though it only has one seal. You know, when you go on the plane, they come and they bring you, oh, Mr. Smith, here's your kosher meal, it has what we call two seals. He permitted the household of Rebbe to drink the wine, even though it came with one seal. Now, on that he says, well, I don't know. Imisham disabla Rabbi Eliezer, Israel calls he holds like Rabbi Eliezer, who brought him a sefer about Zod Daf Aleph, that by wine is permitted with one seal. Or Imisham may must in the seal. Or no, maybe he generally holds that we have to be concerned that the non-Jew took from the wine, you need two seals. But the non-Jew is bringing the wine, since Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was the Nasi, the non-Jew is afraid of the Nasi, who he was in charge because the government gave him permission to rule. And therefore, that's why he permitted with one seal. So if he wasn't sure why he permitted him the one seal, again, the only reason is because we quoted Rabbi Bar Kahana by the snake. So therefore, once we introduced him in one teaching, so when we brought him regarding all these other unrelated teachings over here in our daf. Some of the ideas we spoke about in today's daf and Shabbos Daf, Kuf Aleph, was we ended off the contradiction in the opinion of Rabbi Yesi, and we ended off the opinion of Rabbi Yesi with a contradiction. On the previous daf, we quote him that he holds Tefillah Bizmana is a mitzvah. And that's why we said you don't have to go after the regress. Although everyone holds you should have it because you might uncover your hand from Hashem's name and you're not allowed to be undressed in front of Hashem's name. But the idea is, we know it don't make you go after because we want you to go the earliest time. And that the Gemara asks, wait a second, but we have a brayse that says it's obviously that it's not a mitzvah to go after, to go be table bismana, because it says, Rabbi Yisi says to Yom Kippurim, if you're ready to have a mincha, then you'll only table on Matzah Yom Kippurim. What do you mean? But it's a mitzvah right now. You're missing this time period on this day. So he said, no, that's a different Rabbi Yisi. Rabbi Yisi is Rabbi Yehuda, who we have a different teaching like we had by the woman who had a miscarriage, and she came back when we don't know when she gave birth, so that we say that Some opinions say she has to have 35 tefillas because this might be the time, this might be the time. He says, no, just go at the end. What do you, because tefillah bisman is love mitzvah. That's the Rabbi that we're talking about. Then we started the new sugya in the Mishnah of the Nachri Shabbat Chabas. The non-Jew, which this is the sugya of Amila Akam, a non-Jew is coming to put out a fire. So, you're not allowed to tell him to put out the fire, but neither do you have to tell him not to put out the fire. Which, the reason for that is because in Shvisas Alein, it's not your obligation to stop a non-Jew from doing, but rabbinically, you're not allowed to tell him to do the malacha because one might come to go ahead and do it themselves. Now, the Gemara just points out there's no raya. Tais says the halacha still follows it, but there's no raya from our Mishnah because of these two contradictory inferences of kaveh and atechave. If you're allowed to say whoever puts it out is not going to lose. On the one hand, the Risha makes it sound like that you could say that as long as you don't give a direct command. The Seifa that says, but you don't have to stop him, sounds like, but you're not allowed to announce that whoever comes is not going to lose. Additionally, the Gemara brought a story that someone did not let them put out the fire, and the Chacham said you didn't have to because, again, you don't have to stop them from putting out the fire. It's ancient Visas Naleim. Now, regarding a child, we said, no, there you don't listen to him because this should be Visas Naleim. So the Gemara wanted to prove from there that, okay, obviously if a child is doing something forbidden, like eating the velas, you have to, Bezdin, the father, you have to stop him from doing the Isser where he's coming to put out the fire. You have to stop him. So the Gemara, no, not necessarily. You could actually say that he's talking about a child who's doing it specifically for his father. Doing it but for his father, that's different. But not if a child's doing it for himself, you don't have to stop. But if he's doing the malacha for the father, then you have to stop him. And Tais even says that's even the cotton shaloi gilachinach. Now, in contrast to the non-Jew, even if he's doing it for the Jew, no, it's always called adaita de nafshikavod. He's always doing it for himself. Although he's called doing it for the Jew, no, he knows that he's going to get some type of reward. He's going to get something out of it, and therefore that's permitted. You don't have to stop the non-Jew from putting out the fire. Then we continue with the next mission regarding kaif and ka'ar about turning a bowl over certain things. We said 3 different items that you could put over. One is on top of a candle that the building doesn't catch on fire, and the second one is putting over excrement where it wasn't really shell cotton. It was because of a cotton. It was actually tsaya shell tar the gailas. That's what it's about, and you don't want the kids to get dirty. And the third case was putting over a scorpion, where Rabbi Mazaki says, I'm concerned that you might be chayv v'chatas, which again, that's like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, where even though it's a malacha shein tzurich legufa, one would be chayv v'chatas. As the Gemara explained, like we said, that this saya, although it says shal cotton, is actually not the excrement of a cotton. It's actually because the excrement of a cotton is actually prepared for the dogs, and you're actually allowed to even move it away. And the reason why you're allowed to move it, even though it wasn't here on Erev Shabbos, because not any less than the rivers that are flowing, where you're allowed to take it, it goes according to your Erev on Shabbos, because what's called, like Rashi says, daite ilave. The reason why it's daite ilave, because it's the derech for that to happen. So rather, says the Gemara, no, it's talking about the excrement of chickens, and it's because of children not to get dirty. So the Gemara says, wait a second, why can't you just move it? Why do you have to only cover the bowl? It's a grav shalei. Grav shalei, you're allowed to move it. And the Gemara proved that that's even without a vessel. The Gemara answers, no, we're talking about it's in the garbage dump. It's in the garbage dump. So what's the child doing over there? It's a garbage dump in the chutzner where a child's going to be there, and therefore you're not allowed to move it, of course, that it's in the garbage, but you don't want the cotton to be dirty, so you're allowed to cover it with a bowl. Then we explained the halacha in the Mishnah says you're allowed to cover a bowl over a snake that it doesn't bite. On that, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, he says every harmful creature that kills, that's harmful, you're allowed to kill it on Shabbos. The Gemara says, wait a second, we're learning the Brisa that's obviously like Rabbi Shimon, who we think Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg is going like, who says only 5 harmful creatures could be killed. So it says, no, the Brisa is talking about where it's not running after the person. Now running can only be 5. If it's running after the person, then you're allowed to kill any harmful creature. Then we said that if someone kills snakes on Shabbos, so the spirit of the Hasidim are not pleased with that person. But then Rabbi said, he says, those Hasidim, the Chachamim are not pleased with them. Now, in contrast to Rav Huna, who was his father, he disagrees with his son Rava, and he says, what, Shalom Tinu L'Kula, did you finish all the harmful creatures? There's going to be more around. What's the point? Do you think you're going to save people by killing them? And therefore he says that no, you're not allowed to go ahead and just kill it unless it's running after the person. Which that got us into a discussion also regarding if to kill a snake on Shabbos, is that specifically according to your innocence, or are you allowed to actively go ahead and kill the snake on Shabbos? And it might be only innocently, like by stepping on spit, which we had that story where they stopped torturing him because they realized the Talmud Chacham, and he says it's spit, who cares? Even if you're not doing it intentionally, that's okay if it's done lefitumah. And then we just ended up with 3 statements of Rabbi Kahana because we quoted him regarding the law of the snake. He said that the lamps of the house of Rebbe you're allowed to move, which he explained that was talking about like that of your father's house. But again, according to Rashi, it means that it's small. The wagons of the house of Rebbe can be moved. Also, we're talking about that those of your father which are small, and then also he permitted the wine in the wagons of the non-Jews who were 1 chaysim, but that's just, he said, I don't know if that's like Rabbi Eliezer, in general it's enough with 1 seal, or that's only because they must have been nasi, because they're afraid of the nasi, not going to tamper with his wine, and therefore he permitted with 1 seal, although generally you might need 2 seals. Thank you to any time for hosting us.